We have 15,000 tribal members that live on the reservation, and 11,000 that live on the reservation. Like all reservations, we got some pretty good names for our communities. I've been on reservations where we got a Rainbow City. There's Dark Shadows. Here on San Carlos, we got Ready to Go. That's near the graveyard, so that's why the name Ready to Go came out real quick. We got Beverly Hills. I think the best name that I've never heard on any other reservation that we got is Moon Base. We got a moon base, and I haven't heard that on a reservation anywhere. But our reservation is pretty diverse. We have a lot of different ecosystems. In the northeastern corner, we have our mixed conifer, our plains, grasslands, our chaparral, oak woodlands, juniper woodlands, and our Sonoran desert. Elevation ranges all the way from 2,800 feet all the way up to roughly 9,000 feet, our highest point on the reservation. Right now, currently, we are working on developing and rewriting our new forest management plan. Our forest management plan is going to be running from 2016 all the way to 2041, 25 years. We've had 4 plans written. The first plan was written in 1955. It was again rewritten in 75, 82, and 2004. And it all had the same common theme of sustained yield, sustained yield. So within this new plan, we're using our strategic plan as a guide and also our integrated resource management plan. Under the integrated resource management plan, we're going to be trying to working with all agencies that work on the reservation and deal with the tribe so that we can develop a common goal so that we would be working under one goal. The IRMP is based upon the tribe's vision of desired future conditions for social, cultural, economic, and environmental landscapes. So that's one of the biggest pushes, is that we felt like our traditional and our cultural values weren't really expressed in the previous forest management plans, and that's what we want to emphasize a lot more. One of our biggest programs that I like to brag about is our ethnobotany program. It started back in 1990, and we developed working with ethnobotany, describing plants, animals culturally and their cultural significance, documenting them. Through that, our Elders Council was developed, and the Elders Council developed 4 guiding principles to help us manage our resources. These 4 guiding principles never had to be written down because they were always taught to us. When we were growing up as youngsters, we were always taught to be quiet and listen. Listen to your elders. Listen to your elders. Now I'm not quite in that elder stage, but I'm probably a couple of steps away. So I get to talk, and sometimes they listen. But the 4 guiding principles is respect all aspects of the natural world. We talk about the natural world, and that means lightning, rain, water. We were taught to respect it, be quiet, let it pass, not go outside and make fun of it and run around. All activities must ensure the long-term health of the natural world, especially respecting the prime importance of water. Water has always been one of the important elements of the natural world, and it's also one of the important ones for all tribes, is water. And all activities must benefit the entire community. When the elders were talking about community, they weren't talking about just the human population, but they were talking about the animal community, the plant community, the natural community. History goes back, and there are stories about how we were taught which plants were right to eat, and we were taught by the animals. Back then, there were stories about how Apaches would be talking basically straight across with different animals, with the bears, with the deer, and talking with them so that we would find out what plants to use. Economic activities must be broad-based and varied. So we have to make sure that we ensure that each of our timber sales, our prescribed burns, or even building a fence, we would benefit not just one entity, but would benefit the entire community. Changes in the plan. One of the biggest changes, like I said, was cultural values for each of the forest types. Putting in traditional uses, cultural importance for ponderosa pine, alligator, juniper type, or the ponderosa pine, gamble oak type. Different plants, cultural significant plants, and working toward co-tendency with other federal agencies. That's going to be one of our biggest goals, is to working with a co-tendency. Working in forestry and on the reservation is not all about managing trees. It's also about building strength and tribal sovereignty. This picture here shows the original historic Aboriginal homelands of the Apache. We had the Western Apache made up of the Tano, the White Mountain, San Carlos, the Aravaipa, the Chiricahua Apache, and the Warm Springs Apache. As you see that the reservation, or our Apache homeland, went almost a quarter of Arizona. We came into southwestern New Mexico and northern Mexico. So we traveled quite a bit. This is what I was talking about, is working toward co-tendency with other federal agencies. You see the overlap in there. The blue or the green is the BLM. We have the yellow, which is other reservations, the Navajo Nation, the Supai, Tohono O'odham, Maricopa, and White Mountain. And San Carlos, you don't see a division line, because I feel we're working close enough with them that we should be able to co-manage our forest and our river along with them. We have the Forest Service, which is within inside our Apache lands, and using the Forest Protection Act, the Reserve Treaty rights, we can and we should be able to not just using consultation, but also be co-managers and active managers with them. I always brag about our forest being a working forest, and what I mean by a working forest is that it provides income for the tribe. It provides revenue from stumpage and firewood sales. We have hunting permits, camping permits coming from our forests. Cattle production. The tribe is really big in cattle growing. We have 5 cattle associations, 2 private ranches, and 2 tribal herds that are worked on there. Medicinal plants, willows for baskets, cultural and food plants and food items. We have wildlife habitat. We have Mexican spotted owl on the reservation, and the Mexican gray wolf. It comes in from the Gila Mountains and comes into it. Timber sales. We do have a timber sale program, although like all reservations, we don't hit our annual allowable cut. Our annual allowable cut is 5.6 million board feet. We have roughly 165,000 acres of timber forested areas. Out of that, only 55,000 acres is commercial. What we harvest is 100% ponderosa pine. Currently, we have 2 active timber sales in the hilltop area. Yesterday, those of you that were on the tour, on the field trip tour, drove past and Kelly probably spoke to you about our timber sale activity that's going on over there. Biomass, firewood sales. One of the biggest problems that we have on San Carlos is our woodlands. We have over 65,000 acres of woodlands. What we want to do is try to be able to make sure that firewood, biomass, pays for itself to come out of the woods. What we're trying to do is we're trying to increase firewood sales. You drove past the sawmill. There's a little wood yard that's there in Debichish, Apache firewood. What we're trying to do is make different products out of them. One of the goals this year is to bag our firewood, be able to work with other tribes, the Fort McDowell tribe, the Sanavir tribe, and using them to retail and sell our firewood while we be the source of their firewood. And we're trying to network with the different tribes in order to develop that market. Juniper posts. Juniper's always been a problem, the smaller posts. And there's also some really good juniper firewood that I see that firewood that's being put up that can be going as specialty woods. Furniture for tops, juniper slabs that can go for closets and decking. Sawmill in San Carlos, there's been harvesting for 125 years on San Carlos Reservation. The first sawmill was in 1890, and that was at the Clover Mill. The Clover is right dead center of San Carlos. They used the old military trail. They brought down lumber off of the Clover sale for the old San Carlos agency that's sitting in where Coolidge Dam is. They also used the timbers for the mining industry in Globe and also down in Clifton. So there have been the timber sales from Hilltop. We had a sawmill in Hilltop where you guys were. We actually had two sawmills over there in Hilltop, all the way down. So forest development. Forest development is another one of our programs where we actually work and develop our forest from seedling all the way to commercial, and we do a lot of restoration projects. This is just one of our projects, the Milligap planting project. We planted about 400 acres of containerized ponderosa pine seedlings. The seeds were grown at McNary, or not McNary, but at Canyon Day at the White Mountain Apache Forestry Nursery. Our seed source is also held over there at Canyon Day before us. This year we're going to be doing a really big seed collecting because of a lot of our seed sources are back in 1980s, and I think the earliest seed cache that we got is 1994. So we're going to be doing a really big seed collecting project. The two pictures at the bottom, this was during the wildfire. We had a volunteer day from tribal members. We actually had the Natural Resource Conservation Agency, Millie, come down and volunteer her time and plant with us over the weekend. We had the family members from tribal members that wanted to just come and stay with us. The only thing I told them is that you'll get some really good food when you're done. They were happy with that. All of our work, as you noticed, we don't have any forests right around us here. So we got to travel. We got to travel roughly 2 hours to our work sites. Sometimes, depending on the road and the weather, it'll take us 3 hours. But you see the top picture, that's our spike camp, and that's our forestry technicians' lounge. You see the television there underneath the tarp? And that was the after dinner, and they're kicking back, and you see their model $1 million homes that we want to put up there. The bottom portion shows the thinning project that was accomplished, and we have our crew at the end of the day walking out and heading back to camp. Again, like I said, woodlands. Woodlands is one of our biggest problems on the reservation. 656,000 acres of woodlands. This picture here shows a 1935 and a 2001 aerial photo comparison. If you notice where that J167 is, there's a road on the other side on the 2001 photo on the, I guess it would be left side, right side, your right side. But you see the density of the forest and how open it used to be back compared to 1935 compared to the 2001. And this is the project where this is some of our crew that was working. What we did was go in and mechanically treat it because the forest density was too thick. We couldn't treat it with fire. The trees were already grown too big, regardless of whether or not we had fine fuels on the bottom. If we lit it with fire, it still wouldn't burn because only the grasses would burn. We had a lot of duff laying on the bottom of it, and it wouldn't do anything to the juniper. So we had to go in and mechanically treat it. And then this is how it looks after we're done. We piled slash on it. This is one of the areas that I wish we could have gone to do our post field trip tomorrow. But the road's a little bit rough. I don't even think that the coaches would even make it over there. It'd be fun though, having everybody get out there and go. But this is one of the areas, and we did do a prescribed burn for it, and I didn't have that picture for it. And it looks really nice. The goal was to go back and try to get it back to pre-reservation conditions. And that's our goal, is to try to get it back to pre-reservation conditions. 1 to 2 large juniper trees per acre with a grassy understory. Right here is one of our other projects, and it's a dry lake wetlands project. Like I said, water is one of our prime importance on the reservation. We see the head cutting started. We're looking at projects in here on how to develop and how to stop the head cutting so that the water in the wetlands would be soaking into the ground a lot more. The other picture on the left is one of the springs. A lot of the springs on the reservation are, we consider water to be one of our culturally significant resources. And springs, some places where they have sweat lodges or sweat baths taken care of there. One of the places on the National Forest, on the Gila Forest, the headwaters of the Gila River, that is a really important and cultural significant site. There's still pilgrimages that go there, people that still go there and pray there and use that water to cleanse themselves and get ready for the following years. This is one of our projects that our soils conservation or water resources program was doing. It's a natural corral creek. It's just north of San Carlos. It's a salt cedar removal rehabilitation project. Here you'll see on the one side is how dense it was before, and the other one is how when they treated it. What they did was they cut down all the salt cedar and applied herbicide to the tops so that they won't resprout. Again, similar project, same thing, on the same watershed, in the same area. Show you a little bit of the work. Historically, what was in there was a lot of mesquite boskies, a lot of large mesquite, and also some willows and cottonwoods that used to grow in there. And this is what the creek looked like after the treatment. It's early fall on the one side, and there was no water in the creek. The other side, it was late fall, and the creek and the water started flowing. And this was before the rains came. So removing the salt cedar, I'm thinking that's why the water came back up to the surface. So that's one of our works that we've been doing. Here we have our fire use crew along with our soil conservationists. They're planting pole plantings here to try to get back some of the vegetation of our natural vegetation in there. And they used willows and cottonwood poles, hand digging, trying to get down to the water table. This here shows a picture of the poles, and they're budding. We did get a pretty good success. We got some poles growing, but we do still need treatment again. But again, hopefully, if the Tamarisk moth comes over and starts really doing their job what they expect it to do, we might not be able to, or we won't have to worry about the salt cedar. Fire, we use fire a lot as one of our tools. When we develop our silvicultural prescriptions, fire is also a part of our silvicultural prescriptions for management. Here, this is ponderosa pine. It's, not ponderosa pine, but pornopines, and it's inside one of our project areas that you're going to see tomorrow. If you notice that little square portion that's on the left side, I guess, left side, right side, one of the sides anyway, that that started out as a project for one of the cattle associations. That's a holding pasture or a trap, and they wanted it cleared out. So we had some work done with the cattle association cooperation with them. And the other side is we treated the area mechanically again, Like I said, the trees in there were too big. We couldn't do it with fire alone, so we had to drop a lot of the trees. We did have tribal members come in, take as much of the wood as they wanted. We would have been happy if they took all of it, but they just didn't take any of they took the bigger trees, but they didn't take any of the smaller diameter juniper trees. That's what it looked like from going up to Dry Lake. There's a little viewpoint up there. You can see that little square there where we did have that treatment of the track. And the rest of it we done with fire. And it looks really good out there. We got some skeletons that are standing. The next phase is what are we going to do for retreatment? This is one step in a process that's going to be a continuing project. Earlier we talked about, or we've seen about the eastern, the southwest, and the northwest, and how we use fire. One of the biggest struggles that we have is we always have to report accomplishment acres. Is there another metric to report? Because here we are burning, but yet we got a lot of traditional plants that came up. The goal wasn't to get the traditional plants, the medicinal plants that came up after the prescribed fire. The goal was just to treat the activity fields in here. But so in the whole, the seed source was there. All it needed was a little bit of help from us, and the cultural significant plants came up underneath them. Again, like I said, we do a lot of prescribed burning, treat our activity fields. This was in one of our timber sales that we had, and had our fire use crew do the burning. One of our programs that we have is our Natural Resource Youth Committee, or Youth Practicum. It's been going on for over 9 years. And we have 2 different sessions, one for junior high and one for high school. The high school students get a half credit of earth science. We have certified teachers that come up there. We had to have the teachers there in order for them to get the half a credit. But we go over a lot of traditional uses, cultural significant plants with them. We talk with them about how management is going. One thing that I do like about this youth practicum at the end of the day, or toward the last day of the program, is that they do scenarios and role plays. I was there a couple of years ago when we set up a problem for them. We got these kids to act as if they were wildlife managers, foresters, range conservationists. One of them was a business person, and we said we're going to be putting up a casino right there at Porta Pines Lake. And it actually got into a really good heated discussion between the kids. The person that wanted the casino really played the part good, and the other ones really threw in a lot of good questions as to keeping it natural and using prescribed fire and using different tools and managing it. But it gets them thinking about it, and that's one of the things that we want to do, is that we're losing that tie from the land itself. Victoria talked about it earlier, about the land being in the ground, and when a child is born, that they're rolled into dirt, so that the land is part of them when they grow up. That's the area that we're losing. We're losing that connection. I guess I could call them kids because I'm getting old now, but the kids, the people that are in the 30s, 20s, that are having kids, they're the ones that are not getting out into the forest at all. So the younger generation is not getting back into the forest itself. So we've got to get a way to get not only just the high school students in, but the younger generation, the 30-year-olds, the 40-year-olds, back in, to get that tie back into the land in order for us to keep that going. Again, the forest is our home. We do this because it's not for the money. We don't make any money. We do this is for the love of the land. Our forest, like I said, provides income from our cattle. We have kind of cultural plants and significant plants, and we have our ceremonies out in the forest. And one of of the bigger reasons is the picture in the center for our future generations. Well, my grandson actually out there, we're out there picking acorn, and acorn is one of our important cultural food sources that we have. He's there and we're picking acorn, and that was the first time I showed him how to crack it and eat it, and he liked it. From here, I'm going to turn it over to Duane. He's going to talk a little bit about our fire program.
Good afternoon, folks. It's almost the last part of the day here, so hopefully we'll finish up here. My name is Duane Chapman, the Fire Management Officer for San Carlos. Work with San Carlos Bureau of Indian Affairs. Started in 2012 when I took the position as a Fire Management Officer. My background is worked as a Type 2 AD back in the 90s. And then as I went through fire, worked with 2 different hotshot crews. And one of the shot crews is Geronimo Hotshots, and actually took the superintendent job. And when I took that superintendent job, it was one of the things that, all right, I'm gonna be a shot superintendent for a long time. I'm good to go. But looking at things, how things change, and how earlier some presentation were saying is moving on. And actually I took that step, moved into a fields program. From the fields program, moved into as an assistant fire management officer, and now currently the fire management officer for San Carlos. Today the presentation I'll be talking about is basically the fire program. And resource objectives, what we talked about. Actually we went out on a field trip yesterday and we looked at that. We're looking at San Carlos as 1.8 million acres, and we're in the Sonoran Desert and some Ponderosa pine and junipers. We have some goals, and looking at that, restoring natural fire back into fire-dependent vegetation. Also maintain the ecosystem health, reduce hazardous field conditions and conducive to catastrophic wildfires. The program is a high complexity program. We work closely with the tribe and also both the Bureau and the tribe. The AD program, we have an AD program, and basically the AD program back in the 60s, as far back as I can go, is about the 60s, and they did send crews out in the 90s. 80s and 90s, the crew really, we really sent out about 15 to 20 crews. It was a really large program. They're really hard to work with and hard workers, and they're fun to work with. In the last couple of years, we developed a Type 2 IA crew. And basically this AD program is basically a foundation for all our programs that we have. And I'll be covering that here with the presentation. Some folks move into the Geronimo Hotshot program from the AD program. It was a success, as I mentioned earlier. We had the Type 2 IA crew for the last couple of years, and we did have folks move over to the SHOT program. The program started in '91. They received their Type 1 status as a hotshot crew in '91. And they're a good crew to work with. The other program is the fields program. We have a fields program, and they go out and do tremendous work as hazard field reduction and establish field breaks in the WUIs. Not only that, we have an engine program. And basically the engine program, we help out the SWIFT program, and also we do initial attack response in San Carlos, and also provide assistance to other agencies as requested. And we also help out with trainees with the engine program as IC5. Not only that, we have a prevention program. Pi's over there. I asked him where's Smokey at. So, we have that. They go out and do education. Just one of the folks at the shots, they went out. They had the opportunity to go out on a parade in Vilas, this one right here, and had to actually show the kids there. Fire history in St. Carlos. Back in past history, we used to aggressively suppress wildland fires. And going out there and looking at that and actually calling air tankers and try to stop the progression of fire. Continue on, the approach of fire suppression increased the cost of possible catastrophic wildfires. We're looking at that and how things could have, if we do still suppress fires, would also cause negative effect to the St. Carlos tribe and its land. Management, I mean, as we look on and how policy change and management change and taking in the fire program in a totally different direction of actually managing, suppressing fire, but actually managing fire. Through active management, I mean, had the opportunity to make us to have a broader decision making to multiple objectives, fires, and have a larger box. We look at free burning, an essential component and basically a successful planning and managing fires for multiple objectives. Also to restore and maintain a resilient, productive landscape. Steve kind of mentioned this earlier. Basically, tribal values of cultural and natural resources. Basically, tribal elders notice a diversity, increase in diversity of plants and maintain in low intensity fires when we're doing some of these multiple objective fires. Continuing on, the results and values, the legacy to be left to our children as part of our heritage. And economic viability and cultural existence are dependent on those vital resources. Also, the commercial temple valley, looking at that, a healthy forest, economic well-being. Thus, the loss of product timber due to catastrophic fire will be felt more heavily than on public land. Another value is wildlife. We have the Rec and Wildlife Department here, as you guys notice, large 400 class bulls, over 110, 120 whitetail, coos deer. And basically, we have numerous species here. And this bighorn sheep was taken this past December. Continuing on, it's an economic value also for, again, the wildlife here. And this bull was taken in 2007. And it was scored about 404 and 1/8. Importance to the history and also the importance of knowledge and fields treatment, actually utilizing, it'll establish us an anchor point to look at how we look at managing our fire and treating and having, if we do these treatments in the right location, it's putting the puzzle together to managing actually managing multiple objective fires. Forest management and fire program emphasize the land as a fire tool versus purely fire suppression. Again, we're changing how we manage wildland fires instead of going out there and actually putting it out. We take the opportunity to educate our staff and actually having the knowledge, not just only the fire staff, but the forestry staff. As it is an important part of training our next generation to manage the land of the San Carlos Apache tribe. Without the planning the hazard field reduction, the opportunity to treat the larger landscape will not be possible. Here, the long legacy overseeing the management practice and goals and objectives, restoring resilient and productive landscape on the San Carlos tribe. And basically what I'm going to cover here, the next one is going back to some of the management fires for multiple objectives we've been doing here, and it's even before 2005. And basically what I'm going to be covering here is the cost. I mean, we look at how we write our objectives, how we look at things. Again, one of the things is firefighter safety. Firefighter safety is actually looking at the bigger box. If there's a road a mile away and we need to not suppress that fire, but actually doing a good burn and having to take its natural course, we'll look at that road system, then actually getting a firefighter at risk. While doing that, it takes that risk level and also making sure everybody's on the same page. Back in 2005, the Bear Canyon fire started mid-July, was managed by a Type 2 incident management team. Caused by lightning, burned 1,000 acres. Estimated cost was $612,000. And cost per acre for that fire, for full suppression, was about 612 acres per acre. And that was the Bear Canyon fire. We had the hospital fire in 2006. Started in mid-June, was managed by a local Type 3 team. Lightning caused, burned about 2,016 acres. Estimated cost was $360,000. Cost per acre was $167 per acre, and that was a full suppression. 2009, really changing things around, and that was the time I came in as a assistant fire management officer for San Carlos. And actually, the Bear Canyon started in mid-July, was managed by a Type 3 team, natural cause of lightning, burned approximately 20,000 acres. The cost for that was $1.5 million. Cost per acre was $75, and we used that fire as a multiple objective fire. And that was one of the things that we were looking at, is drawing the bigger box and looking at things. Not only that, we had the 2011, the Maggie fire, started mid-October, was managed by a local Type 4 IC. Lightning caused, burned 4,552 acres. Estimated cost $35,000. Cost per acre was $8, and we managed that for multiple objective fires also. 2012, the trail fire started mid-August, was managed by a local Type 4 IC. Lightning caused, burned 2,500 acres. Estimated cost $224,000. Cost per acre was $89 per acre for that, and we used that also again for managed multiple objective fires. Not too far after that, not too far from the Shorten fire, the trail fire, we had the Shorten fire, probably 2 weeks after the trail fire was the Shorten fire. Started mid-September, was managed by a Type 4 IC. Lightning caused, burned 7,000 acres. Estimated cost was $298,000. Cost per acre was about $42 per acre. And we used, also that was the management, multiple objective fires. 2013, the Creek Fire started mid-June, managed by a Type 3 incident management team, burned 18,000 acres, cost $1.5 million, cost per acre was $82 per acre. And we use that also as a management, multiple objective fire. And the one we dug our heels in, this was a skunk fire in 2014. This is the one that it started mid-April, managed by the Central West Zone Type 3 team, burned approximately 73,000 acres, and it cost 1.7 million acres, and cost per acre on that one was $24 per acre. And we managed that as a multiple objective fire also. The Basin Fire started at the same time as the Skunk Fire. So, and it started mid-April also. That was managed by our local Type 4 IC lightning cause. Burned 6,000 acres, cost $210,000. Cost per acre was $35 an acre. And we used that fire also for a multiple objective fire. During the skunk, during the basin, we had our hands full. We had the Point-of-Pine Woo we were planning. And basically, not just only the Point-of-Pine Woo we were planning, we had the opportunity to manage the basin while the skunk's just smoldering, move resources. Once we were done with the Basin Fire, we moved resources over to complete the Point-of-Pine Woo and also the B flat. And looking at that, we had our hands full, and that's when the skunk started moving on us right after we were done with the B flat prescribed burn. Gave us that opportunity to actually, again, just having that patience and waiting and not actually going out there and making sure it's going to benefit us in the long run and actually the tribe. Also during that time, we had the Barlow Fire. During the Skunk Fire. The Barlow Fire started in mid-May, managed by a local Type 3 team. Cause unknown. Burned 1,400 acres. Estimated cost was $1 million. Cost per acre was $685 per acre, and we went in and actually did full suppression on the Barlow Fire due to we had some ranches that were threatened and power lines that was being threatened. Not only that, we had the Whitetail Fire. It started mid-June, managed by the Central West Zone team, Type 3 team. Lightning cause burned approximately 33,000 acres, cost about $2 million. Cost per acre for that was $82 per acre, and we managed that as a multiple objective fire. The map showing here is actually looking at the prescribed burn we've been doing in the last 10 years or so. And basically, you're looking at that, it was about 41,000 acres that we've been doing since 2005. And the wildfires we have, with the multiple objective fires, the resource benefit fires, you're looking at about 191,000 acres. And that's the purple color. The red one is actual wildfires, and that was about 46,000 acres. What we're trying to do here is try to build along the Nantucket Rim to provide the protection against the forest in actually the timber area. And the puzzle's been taking a long time to put together, but it all fell in place. Just finding the pieces and putting it down. And basically, Mother Nature really helped us out on that. Combined on this one was prescribed fire, resource spent fire, wildfire. We're looking at the prescribed burn is 41,000 acres in the last 10 years. Resource benefit fires, we're looking at 194,000 acres. The WUI, we're looking at about 46,000 acres that was accomplished in the last 10 years. It takes a lot to actually, I had some questions, folks were saying, how is that? But it takes a lot, and it takes a whole team of the natural resource folks, the tribe, and the agency administrator to sit at a table and make these strong, tough decisions. The reason why is actually making sure that we're all on the same page. That's one thing. And also, it takes patience. And that patience and having to build that relationship, not with the tribe and the agency, to actually accomplish some of these multiple objective fires, and working with the forest manager and getting things set up there. But other than that, thank you.
Hope you enjoyed our presentation, our host presentation. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Don't forget to fill in your evaluation forms. And I also want to recognize our staff. They've been out here scrambling around. The guys in blue, they helped out during the luncheon. So just to recognize our staff that's been hard at work getting this symposium together, and I want to thank everybody. Thanks. We'll be hosting the dinner here. They're getting ready in the back, and we're going to start at 6 o'clock. Is my understanding. I think we might be able to make up sometime, I'm not too sure, but we're going to be starting here, and we'll have our host dinner and presentation. Thanks.